the way, we are live already.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Good thing I didn't talk about any racist jokes. That's always my first thing when I meet a client. They're like, "What'd you say?" And I'm like, "I'm just joking. That was the joke. That was it." Okay. Well, great. Hey, it's really good to see you here. Well, good. We're already live, so I'll cut some of this part anyway. But it's really good to see everybody here. If you have any questions, hold off for just a couple of minutes. I have a couple of things that I want to go over just from a recap. I'll turn my camera off for just a minute. I want to go over probably about a 5 or 6 minute presentation to really frame this whole thing up. I'm going to be very open and honest with all of you, whether you're seeing this live or you're seeing the replay. This is a very selfish reason of mine that I've always wanted to ask Mike these questions and record it. I haven't even given these questions to look over and approve or anything like that. So some of the greatest podcasts that I know that I listen to, and I know, Mike, I think you've said the same thing too, is sometimes it's kind of a selfish reason they turn out to be some of the best interviews because you really want to kind of dive in, find out a little bit more. So let me frame this right. Let me go ahead and pull up the presentation, then we'll come back and see my pretty face, see Mike's pretty face again, and then we'll run from there. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my camera here for just a minute, just so I can go ahead and share my screen. And I want to make sure, Nick, can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Great. All right, so we talk about the strategy of the 92,233 leads in only 21 days. I mean, that's really why that you joined, that you started to learn the process. We have some polls that I want to go over here in just a couple of minutes to help kind of frame who's on the call, who's listening, and just kind of give us some additional structure as we move forward. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to go through a deep dive with all of you. And you all know the secret sauce. We talk about the belt, and understanding the entire journey is really why you're all here. So we started off with the B for belief as we told the story about how Mike and I met, how I won the belt, how I won the belt, traveled around with it. Well, here's the deal. As we're really breaking this whole thing down and we break down the acronym for ADS, we're building out an entire process for belief, engage, lead, and transact. Mike said this on our webinar. This isn't something new or revolutionary. This is something that Mike has been doing for many, many, many years. We just put a different acronym and use it for ads, but he uses this in the idea and the copy creating process that I am absolutely just fascinated with. So number one, welcome home. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being live. Thank you for listening to the replay. I am really excited to get Mike's perspective on how does he start writing some of this copy? And well, we'll get into that in just a second. So we've established the belief while you're here. I mean, you're already here. You've paid the dues to be here. So one of the big things is we know the costs are always rising. So we got to be a little bit more competitive on our creative. Now, since everyone's getting in the water to do this, remember I went to the presentation that said, bear with me. This is what everyone's doing right now. By the way, thank you, Mr. Dillard, for an introduction over to Mr. Frank Kern. I've met him a couple of times, but once Frank actually saw this presentation, Frank had said, well, this is actually kind of similar to some of the stuff that he was doing, but man, I got to tell you, this is going to make a world of difference. So I think all of us are pretty much on the same page of, hey, we got this big idea. This is actually, we're going to spend most of our time today. So I want to go through a recap real quick on the ad process, but man, I cannot tell you, like 99% of the people that we work with mess up this process right here. It's the research. It's how do you think about the idea? These are the questions that I really want to ask Mike, because so many people come to us and they literally just do this. All right, I got a big idea. By the way, I'm going to start choosing some of my target market. I set up some creatives. I set up this landing page. I got this retargeting. Now I set up all these different different audiences. I set up all these different creatives. Man, these creatives are great. And I'm going to layer the creatives with the different landing pages because of, you know, whatever, ClickFunnels, you watch a couple of different trainings, and then you mix all this stuff together, and we had talked about this before, it starts to get a little confusing, but what happens is we start to see money really come in at, for us as advertisers, bottom of funnel, right? They've seen the offer, now we can make some money. Now, I'm just gonna be very open with you, is what ends up happening is I place a lot of content in front of people. I suggest that you place a lot of content in front of people because at the end of the day, there's all these different ways to buy. Now, just to be truth be told, what I have a tendency of doing, and then I show you how to do as well too, is I really show you, hey, what I'm going to show you how to do is not necessarily track this, but I'm going to show you overall influence. And I don't want to make this messy by any means, because one of the things that we talk about in our training is overall attribution. Who clicked on what last? Well, if you're selling stuff, it doesn't matter. So if we put in $1 and make 4, who touched the last ad doesn't really matter as much anymore. And this is some of the stuff that we're running with the belt method that we're running with Mike. So as you know, the belt method's different because it's less risky, haven't had any ad accounts shut down. It's better reaching, quick to implement, less expensive. But here's the thing. When I say the direct marketing days are over, they're not over for people like Mike because he understands the process. So when I say that the direct response marketing days are over, that's because I really have to put a lot of content out there because I don't have the skills that I want to start going over and asking Mike the questions on. When people miss the idea creation and really researching that next step, all you're doing is just throwing gasoline on a fire that is unequivocally just out of control. So let's go ahead and take a look at this customer journey. Now, a lot of people are looking for this, but this is what Mike does. And this is what I want to ask questions about, to where it's like most people can't figure out, how do I tell the story in a sequence where it's not guaranteed that every time that someone listens to the story that they're going to buy, but at the tune of $60 million over multiple companies, I mean, let's be honest, there's a lot of money there. So what ends up happening with a lot of advertisers, they try to run a ton of different ads to make up for the lack of copy or creative or research or, well, some of these attributes and traits that has led Mike to do what he's doing today. So as many as you know, a lot of people like to run leads, and this is something that Mike has built his business on for a long time. In my presentation, I talk about overall influence for these leads because it can get really expensive. The thing is this is where I look at it and I'm, man, if you collect a lot of emails, but if they don't open emails, if they don't click emails, man, this can get really expensive. Yes, but if you're writing good copy, this is stuff that Mike has been doing for years. The leads that you get in, even if the cost is a little more expensive, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but oh my goodness, your odds of really making this work are astronomical. So one thing I go over the presentation is, hey, we got to have a rule of 7. Actually, if you look at Mike's follow-up points, one of the things that he talks about in the webinar is he's not all over Facebook unless I'm running ads. He's not posting on all these different other social media sites. So Mike doesn't have, hey, I have 100 different contact points. Mike literally has 7 or less, meaning he's building a very quick relationship because of the offer, because of the copy. Well, what a lot of us do is a lot of us just kind of think of, oh my goodness, there's all these digital touch points we want to hit. I want to help you with that with the belt, all the different touch points. But if we can really get back actually to the same old thinking of how can we make copy really good. I remember one thing that Mike had told me a long time ago is copy is never boring. It's never too long. It's just boring. So let's take some of this old thinking ideas. Let's kind of put this into new. I want to form what Mike would do and put this into automation. So again, these are some of my personal questions that I've always wanted to ask, and I want to get some of your feedback as well too. So I do want to ask Mike, and the same idea creation is what would Mike do? But Nick, before we jump into that, I'm really curious. The very first poll that we have, if you wouldn't mind pulling that up, the very first polls, I'm curious who's on the phone right now, is if you could, I've actually never officially launched, I don't think I've launched a poll on here for a while. Can you launch the first one, which talks about level of experience, meaning never run an ad, spend under $1,000. Perfect. Thank you. Host and panelists can't vote. Well, that's too bad. So I'm kind of curious. Go ahead and click on what your skill level is. Again, there is no judgment here whatsoever. But as I'm asking the questions and as Mike is responding, we want to make sure that we're in line with the level that you're kind of used at right now, right? So is that are you a beginner, advanced, intermediate? You spent thousands of dollars, plus you've purchased courses. Have you just spent a lot of money trying to figure it out? Everyone is agency owner or someone who's an absolutely ad genius. We'll leave that up here for just another moment. Again, this is a poll that we have inside of our free group. By the way, as a little inside access, if you're not inside of our free group, jump inside of our free group. You'll see how this whole persuasion thing starts to work, but polling people and segmenting out is one of the greatest things that you can do. So let's go ahead and, Nick, we'll close that poll in the next 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2. Close that poll if you don't mind. Thank you. If you don't mind showing the results, I think there's a button that hits the results. Beginner, spend $100,000. Great. Got it. A little bit of everything, which this is going to be perfect for people. Okay, great. Now, Nick, would you mind asking the polling question about the idea creation? Like, where's their product at? Like, hey, I have an idea, but I don't have a product, or hey, I have a product, but I haven't sold anything yet. If you want what I'm putting up there. So many times, and not, this is no judgment, I will talk to someone who's running ads, they're failing at ads, and I'll ask, I'll say, okay, well, how did you decide to get in the makeup business? I like makeup. Great. What else? I found some stuff from China. I started selling it. And well, the idea creation is huge. So I'm kind of curious, where are you at in your overall idea creation? If you're seeing the replay, you're not going to see these. For some reason, product visibility, let me see, move this. There we go. I don't have a product or service. I'm just starting out, like an idea, not a problem. I have a product or service, but nothing created yet. You've created something. You've created and sold it, and you're looking to start with ads, or you want to scale with ads because you're already selling something, or you're really looking, for someone else to just do it all. We'll close that out in just a second. Actually, it's Nick. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll close that one out. If you don't mind sharing the results, kind of find out where we're at. All right, kind of all over the place, which is, again, great. Man, I love these diversified trainings. Okay, well, great. We're going to save that other one here for just a couple of minutes, which is great. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to jump right on into this. So here's the process most marketers miss before the ad, right here, in choosing the target market. What we end up doing as advertisers is, well, let's just throw a whole bunch of gasoline on it and see what happens next. So, well, that's great. I got the animation backwards. Mr. Mike Dillard, I would love to ask you a couple of questions if you don't mind, and it is completely up to you if you would like to show your camera or not. I got a face for radio, but if you're gonna, great, I'll start
I think
my
mine
video.
is showing. Yeah, should be showing.
Great.
I apologize if it's getting noisy outside. The